Good morning, everyone. We are thrilled to have our Holy Comforter graduate from 2010, which happens to be the year that many of our audience members here were born. So we have Cale Cummings with us. He graduated from Holy Comforter, then went on to Leon High School, graduated from Leon High School in 2014, then headed over to the College of Charleston, graduated with his undergrad in biology in 2017, continued with his master's, finished that up in 2019, and I believe is in medical school today. Is that correct, Cale?
Yes, that's correct.
All right. Well, welcome back to Holy Comforter. We are thrilled to have you, and I am going to turn it over to you so you can have some time with these kiddos. Thank you.
Yep. Awesome. Sounds great. Yeah, thank you everybody for having me. It's fun to do. It's been a long time. Can't believe y'all were born when I graduated middle school, but here we are. I have I guess a little something here. Let me pull this up. Oh, now it's saying all this is unknown. Let me do this. Okay. All right. Well, I don't think it's going to let me share right now, but that's all right. I don't really have that much of a presentation planned anyways. Yeah, like I was introduced, I went to Holy Comforter all the way from kindergarten until eighth grade and graduated in 2010. And then from there went to Leon High School and graduated from there in 2014 before moving to South Carolina for college at College of Charleston. And after I finished that, I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do. Stuck around a little while and did some work, and then ended up going back to school at a different school here in Charleston, which is where I am now for medical school. And I did my master's there, which is not always typical, but since then moved on and went back home to Tallahassee for a little bit, worked, and then finally figured out what I was going to do and ended up back in Charleston, which is where I am now in medical school. And I'm a second year approaching Christmas. We're just about done with what we call preclinical, and then after that, I'll start moving through the hospital and practicing being a real doctor for the next 2 years before graduating in 2026. And yeah, my path is a little bit different because I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do early on. So it took me a while to figure it out. And it took me a while to figure out how hard I needed to work and teach myself how to do the work necessary to move forward. But since I don't think I can share my screen without re-downloading Zoom, it looks like, which is fine. There's nothing there, but that's about all the introduction I have. And if anybody has any questions or any guidance for me to go from here, anything you want to know, I'm all yours.
Well, Kale, I'll kind of start us off just because uh,
Yes, you want to.
we did not give them much background to this,
No, of
but
course.
but you kind of spoke a little bit how your road wasn't the traditional road. And then
Yes.
obviously you ended up back in Tallahassee for a period and then back there. So, what would you say, or what did you think maybe when you were going through middle school and high school and even undergrad? What did you expect your road to look like? And then what were kind of some of the things that came up to make it non-traditional?
Sure. Well, in a lot of countries, you go straight from high school to medical school, and it's 6 years. So you don't go to college. Medical school is your college. And in the United States, it's different. You go to undergrad for 4 years, and then once you graduate from there, you then apply and go to medical school. So it's longer, but it actually gives you more time to figure it out. And I benefited a little bit from that, but I needed even more time. You know, a lot of my classmates came straight out of college into medical school, and I had several years between college and medical school. And as far as when I was in eighth grade, I really had very little idea what I wanted to do, and I think that's totally normal. If you have a good idea about what you want to do, it's kind of nice. You can start to prepare. Not that there's a whole lot you have to be doing now, but it's just kind of kind of building good habits and preparing for the future so that you can put yourself in a position to do what you want when you decide that's what you want to do. And yeah, it took me a while to figure out, and then it took me even longer to figure out how to do that. I think that's where I go from there.
So, Cale, what is your path, I would say, in medical school right now and kind of beyond? So, kind of where are you falling in
Sure.
all of that?
Right. So medical school is 4 years. You have classes for the first 2 years, and then the next 2 years you're working through the hospital, trying out the different types of doctor and learning what it's like to be, so that you can figure out what kind of doctor you would like to be. And then after that, you go to do more training, and that's the residency or fellowship. Those are the names for it, and that's when you really learn how to be the kind of doctor that you want to be. And after that, so it is like it's a long process. It's 4 years of college and 4 years of medical school, and then anywhere from say 3 to 8 years of training after that before you're really on your own doing what you've been taught how to do. So I am 2 years into that last kind of 8 years. And based on what I want to do, I have probably another 7 years to go before all is said and done. But I think it's definitely worth it. And it certainly helps to know what you want to do earlier on, but there's plenty of time. And I'm a testament to how you can not know that until quite a bit later and still land on your feet.
So, when you were at Leon, did you expect to eventually be in medical school?
No, I did not. I really didn't know till I was kind of towards the end of my undergraduate years at College of Charleston. And when I was at Leon, I liked science. I liked my biology classes, but I had no idea what I wanted to do with that. I liked a bunch of different things, and it did take a long time for me to figure out that being a doctor and going to medical school is what I wanted to do with that interest. And so, like I said, some of my friends have known they wanted to be doctors since they were in middle school, and some of them it helped, and some of them are really tired because they've been working hard for a long time straight. It was nice for me to have a little bit of a break in between and come home and work a regular job.
Hey, Cale, let's try to get your presentation up.
Okay. Well, I think it
Do
just
you
means I have
have
to close Zoom.
wait, do you have a share button, a share screen button on your browser, at the bottom?
Yes, I. Oh, well,
Up,
now
there
it's
you
up.
go. There you
Oh,
go.
well, there we are. All right. Well, thank you. Yeah, this is me. Well, I guess I've already covered some of this, but it's nice to have some pictures. Here's me, kindergarten to eighth grade graduation. I guess you guys have this in a few months. Lots changed. Lots changed since then. And let's see. Oh yeah, this is my timeline that I've already kind of covered for you guys. And there you can see that there's gaps in between some of these dates where I wasn't in school. And I've been kind of did some random things, and part of the process of getting into medical school is building your resume and doing things that are medically related, things that help you get into school because it's competitive. Stuff like doing research in a lab, or I worked as a medical scribe where I took notes for a doctor and did those kind of things. And that's really my timeline here. And I know, is anybody there interested in medicine at all at this point, this early stage?
Nobody wants to go into medicine. No medicine. A nurse? What? I don't know. I think you might have some others. Is anyone? So, Cale, these guys, yes, just yesterday, we had a talk about
Yes.
high school. And they're at
Okay.
their point right now where a few of them know where they want to head to high school, and they know that. And we have
Mhm.
some others who are kind of in limbo. Um, so if you think back from when you were leaving Holy Comforter and heading off into high school, what kind of advice would you have for them? And, did you feel prepared, or what were some of the challenges you had specifically kind of going from Holy Comforter onto Leon?
I definitely felt prepared. So yeah, I went to Leon. It's a much bigger school, but I was lucky that a bunch of my class graduating from Holy Comforter with me was also going to Leon. So I got to stick with a lot of my same friend group that I had made since kindergarten, Holy Comforter. And as far as progressing on, I did feel that I was prepared. I never really liked homework very much, so it's kind of funny that I've chosen a path with so much school. But I would say that the kind of most important thing to me is building habits earlier. Because as y'all know, having gone through middle school, seventh grade is more challenging than sixth, and eighth is more challenging than seventh, and it scales up. And if you build those habits early, it'll allow yourself to. You don't have to know what you want to do now. I certainly didn't know when I was in eighth grade, but building the right habits now so that when you do decide, you're not limited anywhere is my biggest advice. Because when I did decide that I wanted to go to medical school, I was somewhat limited and had to make up for it since then, which is why my path looks a little bit different because I did not really put myself in that position.
I love that. So when you say you felt limited in some ways, was that because of your grades in general, or you didn't, you had to go back and take some other courses that you didn't know you needed, or what were kind of some limitations that you had to overcome?
Sure, it really was mostly grades. You can feel like you're doing fine, and then you decide that you want to go to medical school and realize that fine really is not going to cut it. Just because there's a lot of people that want to go, and that's borne out with a lot of other areas. My sister's in law school now, and she went through some of the same ways, and maybe didn't go exactly where she wanted to or not because of kind of the position she found herself in there. And yes, like me going back and getting a master's is not your typical path, but it's what I had to do in order to get myself into school once I had made that decision. So yes, yeah, I know grades are important, especially for something like this.
And so one of the topics that we often talk about with these guys is perseverance. So for
Yes.
you, was that a trait that you naturally had within you, or was that something that you kind of had to find, or other people had to push that your way? Kind of how did that perseverance come into play for you?
Sure. Well, I think when you want something bad enough, you kind of naturally keep going until you reach a limit. And really, for me, with medical school, with trying for a few years to get in and keep and continuing to have to build my application and build my resume, there were times when would check with myself and say, is this something that I want to do? Is this something that I want to keep doing? Do I still want to keep going if it's going to cost me more time and more effort? And every time I knew yes, that this is really what I wanted to do. And that's kind of been a benefit where I've seen some of my classmates who got here a little bit sooner and without as much time. It didn't take them quite as much time or as much perseverance to get to where they are now. And when they're struck with something that's hard now, it's a little bit more difficult for them to deal with it because they haven't had that experience. And for me, having spent several years going through this process of trying to get in and failing and continuing to try because I knew it's what I wanted to do, it really has helped me and continues to help me going forward.
Do any of you guys have any questions? Come up. You need to talk into the mic.
What kind of doctor do you want to be?
I'm pretty sure I want to be what's called a hematologist oncologist. So they do blood and cancer mostly. Nothing with my hands, though. I'm not going to be a surgeon. Thank you.
There's a question from the back. What school are you currently attending?
Yeah, it's called Medical University of South Carolina. It's in Charleston, which is where I've been. So I'm in South Carolina right now. It's kind of it's different. It's not affiliated with a college. It's kind of a standalone science university. They have people here getting their PhDs, and there's a nursing school and a dental school, a medical school, and physical therapy school, but no college.
Mr. Cale, how old are you?
Yes, I'm old, guys. I'm 27.
Depending who you are in this room, we might disagree with the adjective you use. What
It's
does
all
a
relative.
typical day look like for you in medical school? So if there's a typical day, what would that look like?
Yeah, so it varies. We're kind of a lot of this changed during COVID. Like I'm sure you guys have experienced a bunch of changes where we have most days we have 4 lectures. So we have lectures from 8 to 12 in the morning, and then we have kind of variable things that we do in the afternoon, like go to anatomy lab or go into the hospital and see patients. So it kind of varies a lot, but that 8 to 12 in the morning is pretty consistent. But it's kind of nice for us where all of our lectures are recorded. So they really do give us a lot of freedom. They do treat us like adults. We don't have to be in the lecture hall most of the time, and we're able to watch our lectures, and we can speed them up and watch them faster. So we save time doing that and can kind of do it wherever you want as long as you have your computer.
Cale, why don't you stop sharing your screen?
Sure.
What was your GPA?
Which one? I've had several. And let's see, in high school, I don't know what it was weighted. So I graduated from undergrad a year early because the college I went to took all of my AP credits. So I was able to graduate early from there. But I think in high school I probably hovered around the 3.5. And then in college I probably graduated with a 3.3. And the average, if you look up an average GPA for medical school, it's going to be closer to like a 3.85. So I had some room. I don't recommend doing that.
What has been some of your favorite classes, if you think back to Leon, kind of your favorite classes at Leon, and then kind of as you went through the different levels of college, what have been some, and were you surprised by any that you liked?
So at Leon, I had a really good AP bio teacher, and that was kind of my first step into figuring out that I liked science probably more than most things, because I really did like a lot of things, and it's nice going from middle school to high school. And I know you guys have a lot of cool classes and some choices to make, but you get a lot more choices at each level. And then being able to pursue particular classes because you want to take them and not because they're the only option is nice. So really, I really did kind of like the sciences all the way up, and you get more focused and start taking more advanced sciences like genetics and molecular biology and biochemistry, and learn some really cool stuff and stuff that we're continuing to learn more and more about.
How hard is it to pay tuition?
Yeah, it's not cheap. My school is kind of in the middle range as far as expensive is, but it's really easy for a medical student to get loans because they're confident that you're going to be able to pay them back in the future. So I think the vast majority of the people I know are on loans. We're kind of all riding the loan bus together.
Did you do biology in middle school?
I took whatever we had in middle school. I don't know. I think at seventh grade was life sciences. I think when I was there, I remember that class and I enjoyed that. And then I don't know. That was a long time ago.
You do have a good memory, Cale. Back then, life science was in seventh grade. And when Cale went to
Yeah.
school here, we flipped because we did not offer bio. So bio has been something that we started offering since Cale graduated. And that's why we flipped the life science to now be part of your eighth grade. So it kind of goes with the
Okay.
life science slash bio. So I have one final question, Cale. Before we wrap this up, I was curious, when you went to Holy Comforter, did you go to school with any Fontellas? The last name being
Um,
Fontella.
yes, one year older than me, I believe.
And who was that? Do you know her first name?
I'm very bad at is it Kristen?
Could it have been
Is that
Alyssa
close?
Fontella, perhaps? Or Kristen is her younger
Yes.
sister that I'm thinking of.
Yeah, okay, that's what I'm thinking of. I don't remember who was where, which was which year, but yes,
Yeah, so
that sounds
maybe
right.
you went with Kristen, and so Kristen's older sister, Alyssa, is now this year our language arts teacher for our seventh and eighth graders. So they are now getting educated by a Fontella. So I thought that was interesting.
Wow.
Folks.
Yes.
I think we're going to wrap it up. These guys are going to stay put for just a minute. We're going to wrap it up, but thank you so much for
Thank
spending
you for
the
having me.
morning with us. So,
Yes,
thank
take
you,
care.
Cale.